The cool thing about the way that the portal is set up this year is that there's now everybody's locked in. There's no risk here.
No.
Right? You don't have the risk of somebody going, well, fuck, now the room's too crowded, I'm gonna bounce.
Well, and more than likely, as far as what we paid him, was a handful of, gift cards to Runza.
45, 40, 35, 30, he's gonna go! It's time people feel us!
Big Red Junkies.
Day by day, he gets better and better! He gets better and better! He gets If we die, we die!
Man, woman, and child in that, put him in the aisle.
Bring that trophy back to Lincoln!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome into the Big Red Junkies. I am BJ. This is Jed. This is Matt. And we're getting together to talk about a new running back that we didn't really know about.
Yeah, that was a surprise.
Shocker. But even maybe more shocking, I think it might be more shocking. We have a celebrity we want to shout out.
Yes. The guy by the name of Alex Steele. First and foremost, thank you very much for listening and supporting the show. But it's very funny. He sent me a thing on, by the way, follow me on my new Twitter, Jed Burks, BRJ for Big Red Junkies. Find me on there for this instance that I'm going to be talking about. But the hilarious thing that he sent me a tweet and, I clicked on his bio, and his bio, one of parts of his bio, I'm not going to read the rest of it because that's his own personal thing, says he's tied for first in Big Red Junkies 2025 season prop bets. If that's something that you're going to hang your hat on.
Brother. Cheers to you.
That's a rare air right there.
I just thought that was so awesome when I read that.
That is some balls to the wall good shit, my friend. Balls to the wall good shit.
But the reason that he tweeted me, because Yahoo Sports, the website, just launched their college fantasy football leagues, and he was asking me if we would want to do a league to bring the listeners in and all that stuff. So I did create a league. I don't know how many people are interested. Anybody that's interested, you can either email us at Big Red Junkies. What's the, at what?
Big Red Junkies at Gmail. Or just DM me on my Twitter at Jed Burks, BRJ. And we'll try to get this set up as quickly as possible. Obviously, it's going to be kind of a quick turnaround. But if you want to do a quick college fantasy football league, it's just the Power 4 schools on the Yahoo site. Probably capped at 16 teams, so you better jump in fast.
Something like that. I'd have to pull it up to see exactly how many teams is the max. But
this dude has an honorary spot, no doubt.
Oh, 100%. He's in.
And I think, what was her name? Julie? Julie, if you come back to us,
yeah,
you're in.
She kind of disappeared at the end of the year, so who knows?
She did. She was kind of getting beat up, though.
She was. She was.
She made some bold predictions that we're not even close.
There's a lot of things going through my head that I wanted to say right now, but I'm just going to leave that alone.
Oh, boy.
But anyway, let us know. Again, either email us, bigredjunkies@gmail.com, or DM me on Twitter, Jed Burks, BRJ.
Get it done. And if you haven't already, like, subscribe, share, follow, guys.
That too.
We appreciate you. We love bringing these shows. There will be a lot more coming out to you here, rolling up quick. You'll notice over the last week or so, we've had some more come out. They were supposed to be coming out on a weekly basis, and we kind of got backlogged a little bit. So
yeah, life happens.
Life happens. We've made those excuses. No more excuses. Play like a champion. That's what it's all about.
Well, we can't have any more excuses because it's football season. So it's
fucking 53 days away, brother.
There's a difference when it's like May and it's like whatever. But
that's also why the topic of this show is kind of crazy. I think it's a really cool thing that happened. I don't know that it really matters that much. That's what we're about to get into. Tikey Hayes, new running back from formerly of Penn State by way of Iowa Western. Strange little.
I would love,
detour.
As far as the late nature of this, I would love for this to play out like Sierra Wright.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That'd be cool.
I mean, because that's what exactly. I mean, this is kind of the time frame of when Sierra Wright came to.
Also, that's a long trip from Pennsylvania, so maybe he just missed the university a little bit and ended up at Iowa Western.
He got stuck at the airport.
He ran out of gas in Council Bluffs.
I guess I'm going to school in Iowa. God damn, that's terrible. No, I mean, here's my thing.
this guy, basically the exact same, like carbon copy size of Jamar Mosey, seems to play football very similarly, except for he has an extensive high school career as a running back, as opposed to being a wide receiver, converted to running back in his first year in college. Basically the same amount of play time, because he was behind 2 second-round NFL draftees, and they didn't run the ball through anybody else all season long.
It sucks that he only had 3 carries for 18 yards, and it was just in the bowl game. But at the same time, number one, he was a true freshman, and that's life as a true freshman sometimes. But also, he was behind 2 NFL drafted running backs. So, like, do you really expect a whole lot more? I mean, what?
I think the upside is he's a 4-star kid coming out of high school. He had great high school film. He was, Offensive Player of the Year in Penn State high school football his season year.
4A Player of the Year. He had just over 1,000 yards rushing on just over 90 carries, like 17 touchdowns. Like, that's roughly like 10.5 yards a carry. Like, okay.
That's incredible.
Okay, well, I'll take it. He was offered by Penn State after his freshman year of high school. You know, when you're offered from a school like that, that's kind of a big deal.
That's the wild thing to me is when you look at his career rushing yards in high school was like 7,000 some. What was he doing in the first couple of years that he was? Jesus Christ. That's getting up there in like Derrick Henry territory for high school, isn't it?
Those numbers are ridiculous.
Yeah.
But apparently, like, also, like, late in his senior season, Ohio State tried to get him to flip from Penn State, and he stuck with Penn State. Probably one of the reasons he stuck with Penn State, not just because he's from Pennsylvania, but the interim coach after they fired James Franklin, that Terry Smith, is his great uncle. So it
contracts.
Yeah, you've got a legacy guy. Yeah,
he's still on staff at Penn State, but if he's not going to stay there, if anybody recalls the Penn State game against Nebraska, he was extremely
loved.
Well, he was extremely loved, but I'm talking about he was extremely generous with his words about Matt Rule.
Oh yeah, but I'm saying if you remember after that game, that's when like the players had the signs saying hire Terry Smith, because they all wanted him to be the next head coach. No disrespect to him, but they smartly did not hire him.
Yeah, he wasn't ready.
No.
It's not for that job. Not for that job. My question, I have a couple of questions about this, but the first and foremost is, why so late? There were a lot of teams that are still looking for running backs, and you can't tell me that he didn't have any suitors.
Clearly not if he was ending up at Iowa Western, and that's not a shot on Iowa Western, but it's a JUCO. I mean, that's life. But
it makes me question his situation. Like, were his grades just in a bad spot? Like, if Ohio State wanted him so bad coming out of his senior year, why didn't he wind up at Ohio State? Why didn't he wind up at least some other Power 4 school during the portal?
No idea.
Because all those running backs that everybody wanted came off the board right away.
Well, and also, as far as the Nebraska side of it, all we heard during the transfer portal season in January and February and March was, we don't need another guy. We're good. Because everybody was yelling and screaming that we need to pick up a guy out of the portal. And the coaching staff was like, nope, we got our guys. Look at what they did, in the bowl game, even though it was just one quarter. All those things. And
I felt like that had more to do with money. They had a dollar amount that they could spend, and they spent all of it.
I agree.
A lot of it on the offensive line.
I think the guys that were in the portal at the time were asking for too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also don't think it was necessary at the time to go looking for someone and spend the money. And then with the recent issues that we had
with McKay Nelson
outside of football, then it became a priority again. That's how you come to this.
It's weird how this news came out because obviously
same day McKay Nelson
week,
says charges dropped.
Yeah, but that was the process I'm getting. Last week we found out the McKay Nelson stuff, and then we find out this Tikey Hayes is coming to Nebraska, and then everybody's like, well, what does this mean about McKay Nelson? Because we hadn't heard yet. And then 3 hours later, after this Tikey Hayes information comes out, charges are all dropped on McKay Nelson.
Which still doesn't mean that he's going to play.
No.
You don't know what the team's going to do still there.
Correct.
But I think there's going to be anything else come out of that.
But there was talk that he was going to be gone completely. Right. So that's I don't know that he's going to be gone completely now.
To your question, that's why this happens now. Because we didn't need him before, and now we felt like we did.
And I get that. My bigger question, though, there is just going back to why didn't he land somewhere? Like, you can't tell me there wasn't a single Power 4 or even Group of 5 school that wanted him that would have been better than going to Iowa Western.
I agree, but you know what? As much information as there is out there nowadays, guys fall through the cracks. It's just what it is.
Possible.
Like, but yeah, I don't know.
Especially when, didn't he initially say that he was returning to Penn State?
Probably. I mean, again, with,
Yeah.
that Smith was still, like, his great uncle was still on the coaching staff. So, it's not like there was a huge other outside of the head coach, obviously. There wasn't, like, drastic changes in that aspect. He still had that type of a confidant there that was going to be able to help him if he was going to stay at Penn State for the transition.
Yeah.
I don't know. That is something that is confusing, but I'm glad he's here. Sounds like he's kind of a physical back. I know you talked about how he's similar size with Mosey, but it sounds like he might end up competing more with Quentin Ives as far as the short yardage guy.
Some of his clips from high school, he has breakaway speed, but some of his clips from high school, he was straight up just trucking dudes.
Yeah. And
Put them on their ass.
It was really weird when the news came out, and like that same day, Sipple was on the radio on 1620, and he was talking like he has a chance to start right away. And it's like, wait, what?
Well, I mean, everybody's got a chance to start right away.
I've heard him talk about
the room
coming
is
in
young,
July
so
and learning the
that's the thing.
playbook and all those things. That's what I'm saying. Okay.
Playbook doesn't change that much for a running back.
That's the thing though for me, and I've also heard him kind of walk that back a couple times since he made that initial statement. Everybody has a chance to start because nobody has any experience.
Plus, it's
Right.
It's simple. He talks out of his ass anyway. Sorry, was that out loud?
Either way, what my point is, nobody has any more experience than this guy does. Really.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Realistically, and what experience they do have, it hasn't been great experience.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
McKay Nelson had one good quarter in a bowl game, and other than that, I mean, he really only had one good series. But that's my thing. What can we expect out of him truthfully coming in? Is this going to be similar to this year, right, where it's like, well, he's not really quite ready the first couple games of the year, but then it's like, boom, he's here and he's actually really good.
Or McKay Nelson is suspended for, let's just say, 2 games, and it's a trial period for Hayes coming in for the first,
Yeah.
prove it.
Especially in those first couple of games.
That's
I mean,
what I'm.
You're going to see a lot of guys getting snaps in those first few games. So.
Hopefully.
I really the cool thing about the way that the portal is set up this year is that there's now everybody's locked in. There's no risk here.
No.
Right? You don't have the risk of somebody going, well, fuck, now the room's too crowded, I'm gonna bounce.
Well, and more than likely, as far as what we paid him, was a handful of, gift cards to Runza.
A scholarship.
That's basically what we probably paid him. So,
Well, I think that's something that we're finding out is trickling out now with NIL kind of settling in a little bit over the last 4 or 5 years. There's a lot of kids on the roster that are just playing for a scholarship right now. They're not like everybody's on scholarship now, as opposed to before where there was walk-ons. But those dudes that were walk-ons before, they're now just getting a scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
They're not getting a big paycheck. Like, I think everybody thinks, oh, if you're on a college football roster, especially a Power 4, you're a $100,000 plus a year guy. That's not the case anymore. That money is allocated to the top 20 to 25 players on the roster. So I'm excited about it. I don't see a downside one way or the other. He's an extra body at the very least.
at 100%.
Let us know what you guys think. If you have other intel.
And this may be the most unbelievable night in Cornhusker football history.